All right, let's get into it. Today, we're not just going to talk about network security. No, we're going to design a digital fortress. So for a minute, let's forget about all the boring technical specs. I want you to think of this as an epic challenge, a real blueprint for protecting your most valuable digital treasures from all the dangers lurking out there.
So, that leads us to the big question, right? How in the world do you defend something as big and complex as a modern network, especially when the threats are changing literally every single day? It can feel, well, pretty overwhelming. But the answer actually lies in a strategy that's been around for centuries.
You build it like an ancient fortress, simple as that, complete with high walls, heavily guarded gates, and all sorts of internal checkpoints. This idea, this powerful analogy, is going to be our guide as we break down the absolute fundamentals of secure network design. So let's start with the most important question. What exactly are we protecting?
Okay, so first things first. Every fortress, every castle, it's built to protect something, right? Something priceless. In our digital fortress, it's not gold or literal jewels, but something way more valuable in this day and age, our data. These are the crown jewels of our entire kingdom.
Now, in the world of security, these crown jewels are really defined by something we call the CIA triad. No, not that CIA. This stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality? Well, that's just about keeping secrets secret. Integrity means making sure your data is trustworthy and hasn't been messed with. And availability? That just means you can actually get to your data whenever you need it. Every single security decision we're about to make is designed to protect these three things.
So, we know what we're protecting. Now it's time to roll up our sleeves and start building. And just like any good fortress, we start with the perimeter, our first and maybe most important line of defense. These are the walls, the gates, and even the secret tunnels that shield us from the wild world outside.
Our perimeter defense is really built from three main parts. We've got our main walls, those are our firewalls. We've got a really clever buffer zone called the demilitarized zone, or DMZ, and we have secure, secret tunnels for our trusted friends, which we know as VPNs. Let's dig into each one.
Think of firewalls as the massive, towering stone walls of our digital fortress. They stand right between our trusted network and the chaos of the internet, and they inspect everything, trying to get in or out. They operate on a super strict guest list, a set of rules, and hey, if your name's not on the list, you are not getting in. End of story.
But you know, a single wall isn't always enough. I mean, what if you need to host something for the public, like a website? You definitely don't want to let random visitors just wander inside the main castle. That's exactly where the DMZ comes in. It's like a fortified outer courtyard, a small isolated network where you put your public-facing servers. So if an attacker manages to breach the DMZ, they're still stuck outside your main walls, miles away from the crown jewels.
So what about your own people, your trusted users who are out in the world but need to get back inside the castle securely? For them, we build a secret passage, a VPN. But there are a couple of ways to use this tunnel. A full tunnel VPN is like giving them a full royal escort. Every single bit of their data, whether it's top secret plans or just them ordering pizza, goes through this heavily guarded encrypted tunnel. On the other hand, a split tunnel is more like a special messenger route. Only the really sensitive data takes the secure path, letting normal internet traffic go its own way. It's really a trade-off, right, between total, maximum security and better performance.
Okay, our perimeter is looking pretty tough. The walls are high. But, and this is a big but, what happens if a threat actually gets inside? A strong front gate doesn't mean a thing if an intruder, once they're past it, can just roam wherever they want. Honestly, the most damaging attacks often come from within. That's why we have to guard the hallways, not just the main gate. And we guard those halls with something called network segmentation. You can think of it as the art of building internal walls inside the fortress. We use tools like VLANs to chop up the network into smaller, isolated rooms. So if an attacker somehow breaks into the treasury, they can't just stroll over to the armory. This kind of containment is absolutely crucial for stopping what we call lateral movement, and it prevents a tiny little breach from turning into a full-blown catastrophe.
Now, doing this right, it requires a total shift in how you think. It's a modern philosophy that starts with the assumption that threats are already inside your walls. This new mantra, this whole idea, can be boiled down to just 4 powerful words.
And that is zero trust. It means exactly what it sounds like. We trust no one, nothing, not by default. Think of it this way. In a normal castle, once you get past the front gate, you can pretty much go anywhere.
But in a zero-trust fortress, there is a guard at every single door, in every hallway, checking your ID every single time you try to go anywhere. It's all about continuous verification.
To make Zero Trust a reality, you have to watch the traffic inside the castle, not just what's coming and going from the main gate. We call this east-west traffic. It's all the communication happening between servers inside your own network. You know, for decades, security was obsessed with north-south traffic at the main gate. But the truth is, attackers live and move in those east-west corridors. Watching that internal chatter is the key to spotting an intruder before they get to the crown jewels.
Okay, so we've got our internal walls up, and we've adopted this zero-trust mindset. Now let's talk about the guards themselves, the actual technologies we use to control who gets in, and more importantly, where they're allowed to go once they are in.
So the main gatekeeper technology here is called Network Access Control, or NAC, and its job is pretty straightforward, but absolutely ruthless. When any device, I don't care if it's a laptop, a phone, a tablet, whatever, tries to connect to the network, the NAC solution basically stops it at the door. It inspects the device's health. Is its antivirus up to date? Does it have the right security patches? And based on a strict policy, it makes a decision. You're either granted access or you're denied. Simple as that.
Now, these gatekeepers, they come in a couple of different flavors. You've got agent-based NAC. This is like having a resident spy living on every single one of your devices. It's a little piece of software that's constantly monitoring the device's health and reporting back to HQ. Then you have agentless NAC. This is more like a traditional gate guard who just does a security check and a pat-down when a device tries to enter. The resident spy gives you constant, detailed info, but the gate guard is often easier to set up, especially for guest devices.
And what about access to your most sensitive areas? We're talking the digital throne room here. You can't just let your system administrators walk right in. Instead, you force them to pass through what's called a jump server. Think of this as a highly secured, heavily monitored antechamber. All of that privileged access has to go through this one single point, which, by the way, logs every single keystroke. It's how you ensure that even your most powerful users are being watched and their access is controlled.
All right, so we've built our walls, we've divided up the inside, we've got guards at every door, we are almost there. But a fortress that can't see what's happening? Well, that's a vulnerable fortress. The final piece of our design is constant, vigilant monitoring. We need all-seeing watchtowers that never ever sleep. Our main watchmen in this area are our intrusion detection and prevention systems. First up, you've got a NIDS, a Network Intrusion Detection System. Think of this as the silent watcher. It sits off to the side, listens to all the network chatter, and if it sees something fishy, it sounds a big alarm bell. But then you have a NIPS, a Network Intrusion Prevention System. This is the active guard. It stands right in the middle of the road and has the power to actually drop its spear and block a threat before it can do any damage. One detects, the other prevents. A modern watchtower, though, it's more than just one guard. It's a whole system. It starts with sensors. These are the eyes and ears all over your network, detecting events. Those sensors report back to collectors, who act like scribes, just gathering and logging every single report. And finally, all of that data flows up to the aggregators. This is Central Command, where analysts can correlate all that data, connect the dots, and see the big picture to spot really complex attacks. And for our most important documents, the royal decrees, the critical system files, we need a special kind of guard, a file integrity monitor. This tool is like a royal scribe. It takes a perfect snapshot, a baseline, of your most important files. Then it just checks them over and over. If so much as a single comma is changed without authorization, it screams bloody murder. It ensures the integrity of your most critical assets is never, ever compromised. And there you have it. Our digital fortress is designed. We've got layers of defense, internal checkpoints, and those all-seeing watchtowers. The walls are high, the gates are strong. But here's the thing about security. It is never, ever finished. The bad guys are always building new weapons, new siege engines, so the real question isn't just about the fortress you built today. It's, are you prepared for the siege engines of tomorrow?